Zaki the Lizard. In the scorching hot sands of the Arabian desert, lived a curious lizard named Zaki. He had always heard about the mesmerizing beauty of the pyramids of Egypt and longed to see them for himself. However, Zaki was just a tiny lizard, and the journey to Egypt was a perilous one, full of dangers like sandstorms, predators, and extreme heat. But Zaki was not one to give up on his dream. One day, as he was basking in the sun on a rock, a sudden gust of wind caught him off guard. It was a sandstorm, and Zaki knew he had to take shelter before it was too late. However, the winds were too strong, and before he knew it, Zaki was lifted off the ground, whirling and tumbling through the storm. Everything went dark, and he thought he was about to die. But when he finally opened his eyes, Zaki found himself floating in the clouds, hundreds of feet above the ground. It was the most incredible thing he had ever seen. The clouds looked like fluffy cotton candy, and the sun was shining bright and warm. Zaki forgot all about his quest to see the pyramids and decided to enjoy this once-in-a-lifetime experience instead. As he soared through the sky, he noticed a majestic palace in the distance. It was glistening in the sun, and Zaki realized it must be the palace of a pharaoh. Zaki had heard many stories about pharaohs and their magical powers, and quick as a flash, he darted towards the palace, landing on a windowsill. As he peeked in, he saw the pharaoh sitting on a throne, looking powerful and regal. The pharaoh noticed Zaki and beckoned him to come closer. Zaki, too curious to resist, hopped closer to the pharaoh. The pharaoh greeted him warmly and asked Zaki how he had ended up in the clouds. Zaki told him about his desire to see the pyramids and how the sandstorm had carried him away. The pharaoh was impressed by Zaki's determination and offered to grant him 3 wishes. Zaki couldn't believe his luck. He had always heard about the magic of pharaohs and their powers to grant wishes, but he never thought it would happen to him. He thought long and hard about his wishes, wanting to make sure he used them wisely. His first wish was to see the pyramids of Egypt. The pharaoh smiled and tapped his staff on the ground. Immediately, Zaki felt a spinning sensation, and before he knew it, he was standing at the foot of the Great Pyramids of Egypt. They were even more magnificent than Zaki had ever imagined, and he was overwhelmed by their grandeur. But as he was admiring the pyramids, he heard a loud rumbling noise. Suddenly, the ground shook, and Zaki realized it was an earthquake. The pyramids began to crumble and collapse, and Zaki was trapped in the chaos. He quickly remembered his second wish, to be safe from harm, and shouted it out loud. The pharaoh's magic was instantaneous, and Zaki found himself surrounded by a powerful force field protecting him from the falling rocks. After the earthquake subsided, Zaki was grateful to be alive, but he knew he had one more wish. He pondered for a while and then made his third and final wish, to be with his family back in the Arabian desert. The pharaoh granted his wish, and Zaki found himself transported back to his home in the desert. He was relieved to be back with his family, but something was different. He noticed that the sand was much cooler than usual and that there were clouds in the sky. It was then that he realized he had not been granted a typical third wish. The pharaoh had used his magic to make the desert more habitable, giving it much-needed shade and a cooler temperature. Zaki realized he didn't need to leave the desert to find happiness because his home had been transformed into a paradise. Zaki had come across something so magical that it had changed his life forever. Although his journey to the pyramids was cut off by an unexpected twist, he had achieved more than he could have ever imagined, with the help of a bit of magic. The end. Smiley face.